You're listening to The Edge 80.1 with Michael Tallman in the studio talking to Esther Fleece. Esther works with the organization Focus on the Family. Esther, thank you very much for coming onto our program.
Oh, thank you, Michael. It's great to be with you all.
Now, Focus on the Family is a Christian organization that does focus on the family. Your position is Assistant to the President for Millennial Relations. Could you explain that position?
Absolutely. You know, I've been fortunate to be with the ministry with Focus on the Family for a couple of years, and this position was a new one that was created by our president, really specifically to reach this next generation with the messages of Focus on the Family. So we have been fortunate to be around for over 30 years as a nonprofit. But he definitely just realized that we needed to change some of our tone and some of the ways that we connect, whether that's social networking or where we're at, where we're talking to them. And so, you know, Jim Daly has created this position to do that. So that's what I've been making an effort to do.
Could you explain what the millennial generation is for people who may not recognize that term?
Absolutely. That definitely is the generation that you and I are in. What we kind of say at the ministry is those under 30. So there's a lot of different estimates of what those specific years are. Typically, it's those born from about 1980 to the year 2000.
Do you think that the church is doing a good job of connecting millennials into the church at this point?
I think that there are churches that are doing a good job. I think that, you know, when this position was created for me about 2 years ago, we weren't seeing too much effort going into that generation. I think part of it is, you know, it's kind of the in-between stage. You know, our parents' generation, they were getting married younger and they were starting families, and this generation is really delaying marriage and is delaying families. So a lot of churches didn't know how to speak to, you know, the 20-something single that is pursuing a career field or pursuing education, higher education. I do think that I've seen a shift in the last couple of years with churches really being intentional with reaching this next generation, and there has been great movements like the Catalyst movement, like the Passion movement, conferences that are targeted to that age range that are doing a phenomenal job, parachurch ministries that churches have even partnered more with. So that's very encouraging.
Mm-hmm. I know you mentioned our parents in marriage, and I know with our generation it's not uncommon to have single parents, divorced parents, same-sex parents. Do you think that the way we've grown up with those family dynamics has affected the way we view family?
Yeah, absolutely. And this generation, I don't think even necessarily holds to a biblical worldview on marriage. I think that we really don't have an understanding of why marriage exists. And this generation is really one that is kind of okay with redefining what traditional marriage is. And so that's why we're working very diligently at Focus to help, not to shame 20-somethings for not having an understanding, but to help educate them on why it is a beautiful institution that God created and that He cares about. And so it's not empty rhetoric. And I think this generation, again, is wanting a bigger context, you know, to say why they believe what they believe. And so we're hoping to help with that.
How is Focus trying to get their view of marriage out there to the millennial generation?
Great question. You know, a lot of that is I'm out traveling, speaking at various conferences, and we're kind of telling the narrative of God's idea for marriage and family. So definitely out there speaking, networking, and working with these audience groups, these churches that are doing a great job reaching the 20-somethings. We also have two websites. One of them is boundless.org, and one of them is risingvoice.com. And those two websites are also just trying to tell that story and answer questions that 20-somethings have about various issues, including marriage.
Well, I know part of your job is to use social media to spread the word on some of these issues. Do you think that organizations like Focus on the Family will need to start making more use of social media in the future to reach our generation with these issues?
Yeah, you know, I think social networking is a good start, and I think it's a platform that we almost have to be on because that's really where our generation is talking and meeting and connecting. We are really a well-networked generation, and so if any group wants to connect with where people are at, where the millennials are at, I mean, they need to be on social networking, and basic marketers and business people know that. So, you know, we do see a lot more churches and parachurch ministries getting on social networking sites, you know, in order to build those relationships with this generation. But, you know, something else that's really important to millennials is peer-to-peer communication. They really don't like being talked at, and I think a lot of us in the church, we do that. We think that we know what's right, and we talk at people. This generation wants a relationship. And so a part of Focus bringing me on was to encourage that peer-to-peer communication, that I'm in that generation. I have the same questions and the same fears. And so how do we work through that together?
Okay. At the end of the day, what do you think is going to be the biggest issue that our generation faces in terms of faith and spirituality?
I love that question. And I would say that this generation is key to understanding God's design for marriage and family and why it is good, why it's good for society, why it's good for our children and for next generations. I think that it is key for the millennial generation to understand the importance and the beauty in God's design for marriage and family. And that's at the end of the day what wakes me up in the morning, what gets me excited. And I think this generation, I'm hopeful. I think they will get it. I think they will see it. So.
Well, Esther Fleece, thank you so much for taking some time to come talk to us just about the millennial generation in the church.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael. Have a great day in Iowa today.
Yes, thank you so much. You're listening to KDPS, The Edge 88.1, Des Moines Shuffle Station.